Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us here. And I'm in conversation with the artist Thameur Mejri, who has his solo exhibition, States of Exception, which is open from 25 March to the 2nd of May, 2021 at the B7 Online Art Space in Tunis. My name is Karim Sultan. I'm a curator for the Kamel Azhar Foundation. And joining us here is Thameur himself.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for the invitation, Karim, and for the opportunity to speak and to introduce my work. And thank you again for the opportunity.
It's a pleasure to speak to you. And I think today what we wanted to do was to focus basically on your work, your practice, and some of the ideas and the thinking and the experiences behind your work in a way, and you know, give a platform for these kinds of things to sort of take shape and to enter into the conversation. For people who are going into the gallery now and looking at your work, looking at the paintings, and especially over the past while, I'm very curious about how this practice had developed, and maybe some of the things behind it as well.
I was a student in fine art, you know, and from the early 2000, and I was looking for a practice, you know, and how to express myself and my feelings, my anger, and I did painting as a main practice in Fine Art Institute Fine Art in Tunis, capital Tunis, and I was interested in painting and drawing, and I think my practice has the influence of Francis Bacon. You know, when I was a student, you know, the first time I discovered the work of Francis Bacon in a magazine, because in Tunisia we don't have really museums, and we only discovered all the art history through magazines and books, and so my first contact with Francis Bacon was I was overwhelmed really with his practice and with the type of figuration he did, and I told I told myself, if I one day I become a painter, I will try to do things like Francis Bacon. You know, it was like a revelation in my in that time. You know, because every student needs someone to follow steps. You know, and to try to see how he works and why he did that, the references, his history, the backgrounds, and all that stuff. So I was fascinated by Francis Bacon, and I tried to really look at everything on the artist and around the artist, and also Picasso. I think had a very big influence in my in the years when I was a student, and after I graduated, I tried to work, you know, by myself and try to find my own gesture and my own touch and my own so, and with works, you know, with the volume of work and years by years, and I was working on trying to explore the figuration and that kind of art, you know, like I don't know if people know him also, Vladimir Velikovic. He's a Serbian artist, and he lived in now he's dead. He lived in France, you know, all his life, and his drawings and his paintings were really something fascinating. You know? And so I was educated. I educated my eye and my hand with all these artists and their practice, and step by step I found myself, you know, with time, and I don't know when, but I think in 2009, 2010, I really started doing my own you know, independent approach of painting and drawings. You know, I tried to start digging my own, not digging, but tracing my own path, and with my first show in Tunisia, my solo show was in 2010, and I focused on painting and drawings on nudity, male nudity, the relation between religious perception of nudity and art nudity, and all that duality, between profanation and holy and profanation. So, but my main practice is drawings and painting. And I did also video art, with my older brother, Karim Sultan. He lives in Montreal. He's a movie maker. And we did 3 short films in 2007 and 2008. And we participated in many film festivals in the United States, New York and LA. And I think visiting New York in the first time in my life was really like changed my mind and my life and my perception of reality, and changed my painting also. From 2008, I start really finding my own way to express my anxiety, my feelings, my point of view, also political point of view, because I'm from that generation that witnessed the war on Iraq and 9/11 and all that's and now it's history, but it's still here. It's the impact's still here and still very strong. So with all these stuff, really, I built my own practice, and also I'm influenced by the great master of the classic period, like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Raphael. That really academic drawings, and to be really severe with yourself and rigorous with yourself in drawings. And I believe in the work in the studio. I'm maybe old-fashioned, but I'm fine with it. I really believe that you have to really practice hard, and you have to have some talent also in drawings and paintings. You have to spend time also because in the first period of your career, you try to perfectionize your skills, but after that it's like you try to surprise yourself and find a new way of drawings and paintings. It's like doing the activation of the talent. First you learn, like Picasso did. He draws better than Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. Picasso, as a painter and in his drawings, he said that at 18 years old I drew better than Raphael and Michelangelo, and it took me 60 years to draw like a child. This is really the deep conceptual approach of practicing art. It's not really a quote like this. He threw it like this. Just for fun. There's a deep concept behind, and I believe in that concept. You have to learn very hard the skills in an academic way, and then you try to deactivate it through a process, and that process can take time. You can years. It can take you years to really find a new way of drawing things and perceiving things. Because drawing is how you perceive reality. Also, it's not only work of a hand, and it's a perception more than human practice and activity. And so I think from 2010, I found myself, and I start really being an artist a project of an artist, you know. And I don't believe that you call yourself an artist. People in the end will tell if you are really an artist or not. But you are a project of another life. You are a project, you know, because you're still working, you're still trying to experiment things, challenges, and so you are a project, always open to new stuff. And so from 2010, and starting from my first solo show in Tunisia, and then in Abu Dhabi, the art fair of Art Abu Dhabi, I participated in a solo show there also. And from that time, I start being, I hate to say it, but a professional artist, you know, and trying to work on my practice and the themes that I try to express and to try to talk about, and it's a journey that I'm enjoying until now.
I think there is definitely in artistic practice this tension, I think, between discipline and technique, and which at the end of the day is just, you know, the ability to sort of do what you have in mind, and also the need to break down the frameworks and deconstruct the techniques and do something kind of that you feel is honest, I think.
I think, Karim, discipline is really a must. You know, you can't really have a practice and without discipline, and also repetition. Like Gilles Deleuze, famous French philosopher, he said, "Through repetition comes revolution." You know, so if you repeat the same things every day, you will find a new thing. You know, not through subversion or improvisation or doing things without really planning things, you know. And I believe in that, you know. I'm very really I believe in routines and repeating the same thing every day, same ritual, and through that repetition, something happens, you know. Accident happens, and imbalance, because things are created by an imbalance, you know. Even the universe was created by an imbalance, an atomic imbalance, you know, and everything comes to life. And I think as an artist, you have to leave room for imbalance and for accident to happen, but through repetition. And I experimented that, and I succeeded in that. You know, I found that I always evolve and find new techniques, maybe, or new ways of using the colors, the brushes, even how I do figuration. I draw the bodies through repeating the same process, but sometimes some accident happens, and you stop everything and you take a look and you try to really analyze and sometimes absorb also what happened, you know, because it's something new and you seize it. You know, you see that it's something that didn't really happen before. So I believe in discipline. You know, without discipline, nothing can happen. You know, nothing serious can happen.
Certainly, and I think it also ties together painting with other ways of sort of other artistic practices. For example, two things that come to mind are, for example, music and writing, for example, things that require kind of constant, even just on a physical level, being able to kind of, your body has to be ready in a way. And through kind of just a daily practice, things start to emerge. And even, for example, if there's something that you have in mind and you have the kind of physical capability of just making it happen, which I think is quite an important aspect. I think, who is it? It was, this is something that I found was a very kind of influential idea for me, was the writer Italo Calvino, who I'm very fond of. Often, like, you know, talked about sort of the act of writing, and there was one, it was in, I think, this book of his called 6 Memos for the New Millennium, which was sort of advice for writers and things like this. And he sort of, he has this tension between writers who want to kind of just find freedom in just immediate spontaneous expression. And then, but he finds problems with this, because if you're completely free to do whatever you want, you end up only repeating what you already know. But if you give yourself very strict limitations, which could be time, which could be games within the medium itself, it could be kind of other strictures or limitations, a framework of some kind, then you really push yourself. Unexpected things can happen. So it reminded me a little bit of that, actually.
Yes, I agree with you, and I see that with myself, because I have a small studio, not very big. I work on a very large scale paintings and drawings, but my studio is very small if you compare it to the amount of work I'm doing, and also the scales, But I feel that in that space, a small space, my body is really in a posture that allows me to be more not violent, but more the impact of my gesture, my relation with the canvas, the proximity. So you feel the tension also. It's like you are in a room, and you are really locked in that, in that situation. And your body, and through time, it's a process. Your body record all this, and it becomes a ritual. You work, and that with this gesture you will have this effect, and by doing that you will see something like this. So, and with time you get comfortable with that. First it was an obstacle, but with time that obstacle became really very generous with you, and you start seeing results in that environment, hostile environment, And I think this is a human being, if we see the evolution of civilization, it came really through hostile grounds and hostile events, and with nature, floods, death, viruses, and the human beings. Every time he managed himself to get rid of that obstacle and go further and further and further. So I think you have to have some constraint in your environment to work. Even, I don't know, we can go further in the discussion, but I believe that you need some power on you. You need some a big other, like a patriarchal presence, or police, or to try to work and try to, but with a complete freedom. I think there's no meaning behind complete free. You can't be a really free human being, and I don't know. I feel that we have to always maybe create, because that's what a human being did and are doing. They create gods, they create masters, they create problems like this, from nothing, and because we can't live really in a very happy, peaceful, and free space and time. It's in contradiction with our nature as a human, and the artist himself is a human being, and so he can produce, I think, without putting himself in a challenge, or deprive himself with things that make his life comfortable, So even if he's a rich artist and he's doing very well, but in the studio he finds some ways to put himself in a vulnerable situation, or so he can really do an effort and make an effort to surpass that, and to make things happen, magic happen. You can say that.
Of course. And I think with any kind of artistic practice, there's always you can always go deeper. You can, oh, there's always a challenge that I think, even if everything in life is sort of taken care of, there's always
Yes.
you're always confronted by your own limitations, the limitations of your medium, of, you know, endless things.
The things we own change. I can own something cheap now, but I don't know, in 10 years I will be rich, or I will own something with more values. But your inner self doesn't change. You are always connected with yourself, and with your own story, and with your own problems, you know, with yourself. So the material aspect of life, it doesn't matter for an artist, I think, because he deal with very deep problems and very deep issues, you know, that's still with him, even if he succeed, or he became famous, or he's very well known as an artist and have a new stature in society. But inside he's still that fragile person with dealing with some old issue. So it becomes the real motive to work, you know, and will stay with you all your life, I think. And as Freud said, you know, before, we are that 5 years old person, you know, all our lives, you know, and things will change around you, material things will change around you, but your spirit, your soul, and your heart will be the same all your life. You know? You will always find some place where you can dig and find those issues and those problems.
This might be a good point to actually, speaking of earlier selves, I think. You mentioned bacon, actually, and I was also curious about what else kind of in this maybe even earlier, what else you were kind of looking at, what else were, you know, because I think we're all very shaped by our younger
I
selves
think
in a way.
I think an event that happened to me when I was a child had a really big impact on my in my life until now. You know, it's my first time going to the theater, and I was 5 years old. And my father, with my older brother Qais, he took us to the theater, and I was almost five, and we watched the Predator movie of Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, it's a very violent movie, and imagine a young boy, 5 years old, watching this kind of movie, you know, with the decapitated bodies, with an alien killing everyone, guns, very muscular guys, you know, everything that are now you can see in my paintings, you know. So I think that moment, and until now, I remember that evening, you know, with all the details. Even I was 5 years old, and now I'm almost 39, but I remember even the guy with the tickets, what he said to my father, and what my father responded, and how we entered to the theater and started watching. And when we came back to home, I didn't sleep the night in that night because I was afraid, you know, from the movie. But I think it opened my mind to a new way of to a new imagination. You know, so you know, and I was impressed by what I saw, you know, and I think it had a big impact on my and also, so speaking about and movies also. So from that time, we start being a movie addicted, you know, with my older brother, and we watched every movie from Rambo, Rocky, all the movie of Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, all this action movie, Hollywood propaganda action movies, and all that stuff. And because they were made for that purpose, you know, it's for the culture from the United States to be really around the world, and to show that the American is the most powerful and strongest man on earth, you know. And but I embraced that propaganda, you know, and that way of movies and these kind of movies, and I built my imaginary world around that, you know, and these movies. And but growing up, you know, and I think when I was a student in fine art, I really opened myself to other kind of movies, like David Lynch movies, Cronenberg movies, and even I watched them before, you know, when I was young, but I didn't really have had the tools to really analyze these movies and understand them, you know. But as a student, really, I was really into that and watched every movie of David Lynch movie work, and John Carpenter also. And I remember also the first time I watched a Gaspar Noé movie. It was really very hard experience, you know, and very harsh experience, you know, irreversible. People know movies. The movie, it was really a strong experience, and I really enjoyed it, you know, because people enjoy violence, you know. They don't want to see it, but they want to see it in the same time, you know. We have that schizophrenic approach of violence, you know. We are disgusted by violence, but in the same time, we want to watch people dying and blood, and this is in our nature. So, and it opened my mind to a new way of expressing the violence and raw violence and the nature of men, you know, and how they can do to each other harm, and the degree of violence, you know. And I think movies played and still playing a big role in my practice, you know, and I see them as a source of influence, you know. And I remember also video games, and when I was young, you know, all the Super Nintendo, Street Fighter, and all that era, you know, because I'm from the 90 generation, and so I remember playing with video games. You know, we had one game, and we play 1 year with with Street Fighter for 1 year, you know, every day. So I think I was educated with violence, but in different with how to say it, violence with different not tools, but meaning, you know. Violence in cinema, in video games, also in cartoons, you know, in like manga. Was really a fan of Dragon Ball Z and all the Japanese, and it's very violent, you know.
Which manga and anime and that kind of thing were you watching, just out of curiosity?
We watched really. I was really fan of Dragon Ball Z. I don't know in English how to say it, but in French is the Dragon Ball Z. I know. I remember that I really enjoyed watching, and I was really and I was trying to reproduce the drawings, try to draw like the same character, and trying to draw the same as the manga, and it helps me really building my imagination and I see that now in my paintings, and this is what I discovered now, you know, with the I took a step backward, and I watched and I reconnected with my older self, my younger self, and I see similarity in what I was really watching and playing, and now what I'm doing in my paintings, you know, and I'm very proud of that, you know. It's not really something pejorative, you know, and reductive to my practice. No, I feel that as something really rich and source of inspiration, and to stay faithful to your younger self and to your past and your history, you know, because we are made from our history, you know. I'm that boy, you know. And also music. Speaking about influences, I remember from high school and start to grow up, and with the new wave of new metal in the late 90s and early 2000, you know, I start listening to metal bands like Korn, Slipknot, Marilyn Manson, and Nine Inch Nails, and I embraced all the culture. Not only listening to the music, but I embraced the iconography, the themes, the clothes, all the culture, you know. And I really, it helps me. It helped me going through that time and that stage of my life, because it was very hard period for me, you know, for many other like me, you know. It's that period of before going to the university, and it's very completely fragile period. I think you are very vulnerable in that time, in that period of your life. So music helped me also. Now I still use it as a source of influence, and to reconnect with my younger self, and try to always be in touch with the issues, you know, because I feel that what I'm doing now is because of the past. I do analyze, you know, what I'm doing now, and I see that there's a connection between my past and what I'm doing now. And I try to really focus on that, you know. It's not something that I see that it's something that doesn't have an importance, you know. No, I feel that it's very important to speak about that.
Do you remember, because I think there is that one moment, I think, in that period of time, especially, you know, the teen years, you know, even just on a physiological level, psychological level, everything is so up in the air. There's so many questions. There's so much that one is going through. And I think that somehow then these kind of experiences, seeing a film, listening to an album, it means something very different in a way. And it's such a completely overwhelming experience. And I was just curious if you have any kind of memories of a certain, you know, for example, a piece of music or an album or something like that that really had an impact on you.
I remember listening to Korn first album, debut album, you know, and the untitled album, their self-titled album, and all the songs spoke to me, you know, because in that time I was really like an invincible kid, you know, in high school. You know, I was skinny, very shy, with the glasses, and but I was very smart. But you know, physically I was not really very attractive and athletic, and so and I found myself in the lyrics of the lead singer, you know, and I was really addicted to Korn and to the song, to that album, especially their first album from '94, and all the songs spoke to me and helped me to understand myself, and to also to be okay with your fragility, with your vulnerability as a man and as a male, you know, because the first metal period, you know, from the 80s and 70s, it was really a macho music, you know, first era. But new metal, it's not macho. No, it speak about it's okay not being an alpha male. It's okay not being so macho, and it's okay to be vulnerable, to find your feminist side in you, to be bullied by others, it's okay. You are. So it gave me strength to move forward and to have something to relate to also. And I remember that every day I listen to that every day, trying to help myself and to stay not alive, but to face those issues, and now to reconnect with that period and with that time. When I put those songs, I really like my younger self is reincarnated in me, and he is working, in the studio, not me now, because now through time I changed, I went to the gym. Now I'm very muscular, and I'm good looking guy, and so I took revenge, on that period, so so I don't have really issues, if you can say that, but I still see myself when I look at the mirror. I still see my younger self, I still see that Thameur with those issues, with those with that vulnerability, lack of self confidence, always trying to prove that he is here, he exists, and working and doing my practice is helping me also. Is a process to help me to really express myself and to not take revenge. And it's like taking revenge on that whole period, and that whole time, from the past. And I enjoy, it's painful, but I enjoy, facing that, and because I see that it helped me working, and moving forward in my work. So I use it also as a therapy, but productive therapy, that really have an impact on my practice.
You mentioned actually a term that I think is that's sort of come up, and I think is quite an important one, which is this idea of fragility. Especially, you mentioned it at that period of time when your identity is being formed, and there's so much kind of happening, especially at that point. But I think fragility also has a wider kind of connection to aggression, to violence, to some of the things you were talking about earlier that are part of human life.
And I think with time and with lecture and with discovering, philosophy and books and philosophers, and for example, Michel Foucault, great French philosopher, he said that in the contrary, masculinity and needs it's very fragile, so it needs violence and performance to exist. So everything that needs to perform and to show that he exists, it's because it's very fragile. So going back to the past, to my past, I see that I was not a fragile person. I was really maybe sensitive or sentimental. I don't know, but not fragile, because with this kind of explanation and approach, the things that exert violence and try to show up and try to tell people that I am here, because it's very fragile in the inside, and if you are very confident with yourself and very not balanced, a balanced person, you don't need really to show to others and to hurt others to show that you are to feel that you exist and you are here, you are very important, and you have a place, and So I think that fragility is related to masculinity and male performance. And it's not a personal issue. It's the society that put pressure on the male and on men, so they can perform. So they have to perform to exist. It's not really a choice. When I take a look, a deep look, I feel that it's not a choice that we made. You know, you have to do that, otherwise you don't exist, and you are really erased by the society. You know, as a man, and I speak about our society as a Tunisian and as Arab society. You know, because it depends on it's different from place to another. You know, and the degree also is different from another. But speaking about the whole region, I think that from the beginning, from your childhood, when you were a little boy, the process starts in that time, you know, and they start really pushing you to perform and to show that you are a man, a future man, and you are very tough. And so, and when he grew up, he doesn't know other way to express himself and to exist. So, because existence, as Sartre said, it's by the actions, by performance. You know, you don't exist like this, you know, by the essence. You exist by when you do exist. You know, you do something. You know, you practice something. And people and those kinds of people from our society, they don't have really other alternative. You know, and they don't know other alternative. They think that it's the only way to be a male and to be, you know, very masculine, and they don't have a choice. I think you have. It's very hard, and it's a long process to take yourself off from that system and to find your own perception of masculinity and how to be a man without needing that. I'm trying to do that. You know, it's a process. You know, and because it's very hard to get rid of years and years of education and pressure from society. And I think working in the studio and doing my practice, you know, and through my practice, it's like trying to step by step getting rid of all that weight, you know, that were put on your shoulders without really asking for that, you know. And sometimes you fail, sometimes you succeed in finding new ways of acting as a male, you know, but it's very hard, I think, in our society, and still living in that environment to confront, to get confronted every day with that kind of violence, and you act differently, you know. It's very hard, you know.